Hey y'all, welcome back to Indie Flicks. Episode 2 of Love is Blind Season 10 proves one thing. Day 1 feelings mean absolutely nothing once reality sets in inside those pods. The proposal from episode 1, now it has pressure. The love triangles, they're getting messier, and the emotional confidence some people had is starting to crack. Let's get into it. All right, so we had our first couple's proposal, which was Victor and Christine, and they finally got to meet each other outside of the pods, and you can almost see the initial attraction between both of them. And I already kind of assumed like they were going to be with it. And be each other's types just because they've said they've dated other ethnicities before. And you can just tell like they just gravitated towards each other. It's the reaction we want to see, right? When you get out the pod and you propose and you're in love. This is what we want to see. I'm not gonna lie though, it makes me nervous. Only because everything just started off so good, so well. So fast in the beginning. Like what, and I'm not saying it has to be anything, but what is going to shake it up? Like, I don't see it being because of anybody else in the pods like we've seen in prior seasons, that history where you've made multiple connections and then you see that other connection outside and there could be something there. I don't think either one of them had that. I don't know if it's going to be a family thing. Like, I don't know. I hope it stays consistent. I do. Like, my fingers are crossed for these two. I really like them together. But I'm like just a tad bit nervous. But we always do have almost every season, there is a very strong couple, right? And usually those very strong couples are the ones who propose first. It's seen in the history of Love is Blind. So, they may just be that couple. So after all the drama with Emma and Steven, she's focusing now more on Connor and Mike. And I'm happy because that stuff with Steven from last episode and she trying to be, more vulnerable and deep. And he's over here talking about how he lost his virginity. Ugh, annoying. So I'm glad that's over with. So she's focusing more on Connor and Mike, and she basically relays her story. She tells them, I'm adopted. I've had this medical procedure when I was young. The scars are very visible still there, and both men were open to her story. They showed compassion. They obviously showed that they heard her out, and they look at her as someone strong that went through something. Now there was a difference though, and how the response was. I feel like Connor gave that natural response anybody does when somebody relays your story, and it was fine. He was more like subtle with it and encouraging, and letting her know, like, that's all fine and dandy. Also reaffirming to her, she has hesitations about being a mom because she doesn't know her family medical history. And he's sharing those different aspects about her that still will make her a great mom. And I think that's awesome. Like, I'm glad that Connor got that response. Mike gave a little different response to her story. So after Emma shared her story with Mike, Mike also shared a similar story about, him being born prematurely, and having just, I guess a rough awakening to the world and almost, losing his life because of the air support. And that was something they bonded over, both going through something, especially medically. And I think it gives a different perspective or perception of, how it's received, hearing it from somebody else. And I'm not gonna lie, my initial thought was like, oh my God, yes, yes, yes. But then now that I'm thinking about it and it's set in, I don't want them trauma bonding. Like, trauma bonding is okay, but like if that's gonna be all, I don't know. I now have just mixed feelings. Like, I do appreciate him sharing that story after she shared hers. I think he's able to look at her in a different light because of that, and her also feeling more open to disclose more about herself. And I can see her leaning more in his direction because of this. I'm just concerned, because they have that thing, it backfiring, Let me know if y'all down in the comments if y'all agree with me or if you see things differently. Like, I'm not saying, completely cut him off, but, just be a little weary. So we have a new couple this episode. We're introduced to Amber and Jordan. Amber is a single mom, looking for love. And I will commend Netflix because I feel like, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like Love is Blind is the only show on Netflix I've seen who allow single parents to be on there, which I appreciate, me once being a single parent. And it's cool. It's cool to see. And I think it makes more sense outside of the other shows like Married at First Sight, where like that's like an initial, like we together, where Love is Blind is like, all right, you can take some time to get to know each other and then feel, if it's worth introducing your kids to. So yeah, but anyways, Amber's a single mom, and Jordan is not a parent. And, they seem like they have a very charismatic energy and are really into each other just by their pod conversations. The only thing that turned me off this episode was Jordan confesses or lets us know in his interview that one of his deal breakers is someone with a child. And now here he is connecting with someone with a child. And he knows that she has a child. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. If you came in knowing one of your deal breakers was dating someone with a child, please stay with that. Please stay with that, and please find someone else who doesn't, because I don't feel like, yes, Love is Blind is an experiment in itself. We don't need you experimenting someone who also has a child, because God forbid she introduces you to this child. That child forms some type of connection or liking to you, and then you realize, nah, this ain't for me. This ain't the show to do it. This ain't it. And we already see these past 2 episodes, it's moving fast. We're moving. I don't know if they're only given 2 weeks in the pods. 2 weeks is not enough time for you to figure out, yes, I want to date this person with a child, and the deal breaker is gone. In my opinion, you could be the greatest person. We all have deal breakers, right? And yes, our deal breakers can adjust, but that comes with time. And I don't feel like in this situation, there's enough time for that. Like, I was turned off. And I wanted to yell at my screen and tell her, Amber, to run. But, it is what it is. They really like each other. He even has a conversation with the guys about it, and they're like trying to like tell him, there may be a case where the child really likes you and you really like the child and things can really work out. I just don't think it's responsible to go that route. Like, don't experiment with a woman. Like, it's a difference between if you came in here open to dating someone with a child, and I get it, maybe you never dated someone with a child and you don't know, but if you already declare that as your deal breaker, that says a lot. So this is something we have to watch, as they move forward. He did wind up proposing to her. She said yes. So this is going to be an interesting story outside of the pods and outside of the vacation when they actually get back home and how that plays out. All right, now it's time to get into this lovely triangle with Tyler, Kevan, and Kia. This was a show, and I'm not gonna lie, I knew it. How it turned out this episode, I saw it coming. So remember episode 1, Kevan was in between both Tyler and Kia. Kevan and Tyler, obviously showed a way deeper emotional connection, right? Tyler has always been expressive about how emotionally open she is. She's ready for marriage. She's ready to be a wife. To be a wife, she'll put work to the side to make it work for her marriage. Da 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 da. Kia has been a little bit more observing. I would say she observes carefully. She doesn't give too much. She's a little guarded, which I think is okay. But she's also like a realistic person. Like, she's like, hey, I know what this process is. Like, I know there's going to be multiple connections. Just, as long as you're being open and direct, you know, we should be good. Kevan in this episode definitely struggles with clarity. I think starting off, he was definitely putting Tyler as his number one. And I feel like Tyler felt that from him, and Kia was more, second to it. And I think also he was probably planning to let Kia go after his conversation with Tyler. I think they were starting to, solidify their relationship, and he was going to let Tyler be the one and let Kia go. That's not how the cookie crumbled this episode. I think on their date, in my opinion, Kevin's intention of the date was to cut things off, right? Kia came in there, and I love Kia down. Kia, she got it on lock. She approached him in a manner, and let me rewind. This is before she came into the date with Kevan. She's hearing all this stuff Tyler's talking about. My man, my man, my man, my man. All this good, positive things. And Kia has an inkling that she's talking about Kevan, right? She did not let that sway her. And I love that because, again, she is open to the process. She understands what this process is, and people form multiple connections. So when she went into that date with Kevan, she didn't even bring up all that was discussed. She did mention, there's a lot going on and she's trying to stay out of everybody else's stuff and focus more on hers. And she relates to him like, how she feels about him. Like, she's very interested in getting to know him. And you could see the turn in Kevin's face where he's like, you know what? Ditto. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like he was coming in there again with the intentions to cut things off. And, he could be an empath and doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, which somebody's feelings going to have to get hurt in this, especially if you're in a love triangle. But he was open to hear more, and they shared more. They got deeper. She expressed what love meant to her, which was very touching. She told a story about her aunt and uncle, and that's what she wanted. And I think that resonated with him. And you could kind of see their connection getting a lot deeper this episode, a lot deeper. And I'm not going to lie, I loved it. I really loved it. I love seeing that the other side of Kia. And yes, they give off best friends, but I feel like that's majority of the people in the world who want to be best friends with their partner. Like, that makes things easier when you can connect on multiple different levels and not just one. Now, as confident as Tyler is, she's been my man, my man, my man about Kevan. She feels like she's top one. Kia is the side chick. She also even figures out that Kia is, she figures out Kia is the other girl that Kevin's talking to. But she is so confident and determined and for sure that Kevin's going to break things off, and he's strictly only going to be about her. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where you really have to be careful of how you say things when things aren't solidified, right? And I don't think, and again, we don't see everything. I know things are cut off. So there could have been a moment where Kevan announced, discussed with her that she was his number one, and this is all that he wanted. But I think in this situation, especially if there's another woman, keep your cards close. Like, that should not be discussed. And it wind up kicking her in her butt. Kevan basically breaks it down to her like, look, I have this other connection and it's growing. And that's not the words that Tyler wanted to hear. And I do feel bad for her because she was just really so confident that this was it. Like, for sure he broke up with her. For sure this, they're done and we could just focus on us. But that's not how it turned. And it really got emotional at the end of this episode with them too. He's, and I feel bad because he is trying to express himself, and he's not saying I pick Kia over you, but Tyler ain't want to hear it. I think she was so shut off for the simple fact that there was still another person that she wasn't even willing to hear him. Of course, he's giving, her accolades and telling her how great she is. And at that moment, she didn't want to hear. And she told him, like, look, I don't want to hear all that. Like, I'm done with this. Like, she don't want to hear none of that. And I don't think that was the right response, and nor was it a respectful one. Like, I get it. You're in your feelings, but this is the time, especially because you guys aren't in person, to express those feelings. Tell him why you feel that way. You know what I'm saying? So he can have an idea, and also hear him out on how he is feeling, because this is not just your process. This is also his process as well. And you have to be open to that, just like how Kia gave him some grace. So I don't know what it's going to look like between these two. I don't know if we're going to come back and, she's going to be like, all right, let's try to work it out. Let's try to figure things out. Or if she's truly, really done. Like, I can understand as a woman, it does get tiring to hear from someone, I'm so great, I want to do this for you, and da 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 da, and it's not getting done. Like, I don't want to hear it. Show me that. But this is a different situation. And again, he never really confirmed that it was just, you two. And things change. Things literally change overnight in these pods. You can be number 1 on this day and drop to number 3 the next day, just because everything's sped up. Everything's sped up with this short time span that y'all have in these pods. So we'll look out. We have to see these next few episodes on if they're able to rekindle things between each other. But my girl Tyler, she look like she done, and she's fed up. Well, that was episode 2, and episode 2 definitely shows that connections in the pods evolve quickly, and clarity is everything. Victor and Christine are steady, but will that last? Emma might have found stability in Steven, and Kevan is officially in the hot seat. What stood out to you most in episode 2? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe to Indie Flicks, because we're breaking down every single episode spoiler free. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one.